answering all beginner SMMA questions. So before we start, let me throw this off, put on the chef hat, because today we're going to get the sauce. So I am just a 16-year-old who managed to scale an appointment setting agency. Started my agency, I had lots of doubts about school, everything, and I spent weeks lost, right? Trying every method I could find on YouTube. I tried cold emails, cold DMs, cold calls, you name it, but nothing seemed to work. But after I got a foothold in the agency world, after about a month of, just wandering around, I really started to refine my own systems and break things down into first principles, which just means its most simple form, because simple scales, fancy fails. I've worked directly with agencies in over 6 niches to install done-for-you appointment setting systems, and I've helped 81 different agencies land their first client in the RSC First Client Challenge. That being said, I feel I can answer some beginner objections that are stopping people from starting that I wish I had knew myself when I was first, beginning. So let's get into it. Section 1, prerequisites. So this section is going to be dedicated to answering the questions that might stop you from starting in the first place. There are 3 types of beliefs. There's a vehicle, external, and a circumstantial belief. Each one of these are just excuses stopping you from starting your actual agencies. Number 1, I'm too young. No, you're not. Meet Gershon, and Gershon scaled to 5K a month at 15. I have a video with him interviewing on my channel. Your age is an advantage because it allows you to tell your story and convey who you are in a way more authentic manner, because your intentions are a lot more genuine and you're going to be a lot more rare of a species compared to a 24-year-old. Next one is I can't register my business. Until you are making a decent amount of money, you really don't need to, depending on where you live. I know in most places like Canada and the US you do not, so you're making a good amount of money. But again, this is not legal advice. Take specific precautions based on your situation. Next objection, I don't have enough money. All you need is $300 minimum. If you don't have that, you can spend 2 weeks freelancing on Fiverr and Upwork and get it. I'm dumb. Everything is learned on the job. I don't have time. Do what you can when you can. I met a law school student running a 20K a month agency while in law school. So what's your excuse, right? He's being a lawyer. He's writing up papers. He's throwing people in jail and also running an agency at the same time. So you can do your schoolwork. You can do your homework. And I said here, grades and existing knowledge won't affect you negatively. I haven't been fully involved in school for a while up until pretty recently, and I was never, the most amazing student either. So that should cover the basis of things stopping you from starting. So by now you should be 100% finalized that you want to start an agency, and there should be nothing in your actual way. So what questions might, come up with regards to actually beginning your agency and wanting to know how to actually take that jump? So instead of just sharing my experience, I decided to get questions from the RSC community, which, it's just a free Discord, and lots of beginners drop their questions. So I'll provide the solutions to these problems and not the answers to the questions, because a lot of times the questions that come up have a deeper rooted problem. So that being said, let's dive into it. Question 1. So where did you learn overall Facebook ads for free? So the place where I learned most about Facebook ads was honestly just in the Facebook's ads manager, right? Just going through, learning that, speaking with people, right? Speaking with people who actually run ads and having them break down their strategies. Very important. The best thing you're going to be able to do is just learn a lot on YouTube about how it actually works and overall strategies. But in terms of the nitty gritty, the best place to do it is, just running it yourself or interpersonal connections. So there is like a 6-hour course about Facebook ads that can teach you all the basics. And after that, I would just recommend either going in yourself or speaking with someone who's already gone in themselves. Next, what ways can we service clients? So the best way to determine, how you can service your client is whether the service that they actually provide is going to be a need or if it's going to be a want. So if it's a want, that means that you can run things like Facebook ads, short form content, most other offers. But if it's a need, you're going to want to lean a bit more on the Google ads side, because that's going to service a need. As an example, and I use this a lot, if a bug woke up in your house, you are not going to scroll Facebook looking for a pest control ad. You're going to Google, how do I get rats out of my house right now? Right, and you're going to appear and you're going to click on the number 1 Google ad because you want it gone right now. It is a need. Whereas want, like I want my kid to play soccer, that's not something that needs to happen urgently. So just scrolling Facebook one day, you might see offer come up and click on it. So that is, I guess, how you can service clients and determine what service you actually need. In most cases, you want to tailor your service based on what the client can actually benefit from, not just what you think is a good offer. So if you're working with pest control companies, running TikTok ads might not be a great idea because they benefit more from Google ads. And again, they don't care about the actual vehicle that you use to get there, right? They care about the vacation destination and not the plane ride itself. So that's fine. Next thing, love video. Do you think engaging with the prospect's profile before reaching out increases the chances of them replying? 100%. This is one of the biggest things that can actually help your outreach, just fully amp up, is when you interact with a prospect before messaging them. I recently had a story where there was a friend of mine who was sending out a bunch of these messages but not getting any responses, and we looked at his outreach. Well, he wasn't interacting with people's profiles, and I knew he was haggling me on. He didn't believe me. It's not that big of a deal. And while I was actually chatting with him, I just opened up my screen share and I went to a gym account using my Instagram, and I left a super in-depth caring comment to a brand, sent them a message, and 5 minutes later, while we were still arguing, mid-argument, he's telling me that I'm wrong, and then the gym responds just like that instantly, right? And he, because I'm not in the gym niche, I obviously didn't book them in, but yes, comments are huge, and leaving a genuine comment is going to increase the chances of replying a lot, because people will see parallels. And if you have a good hook message, they're not going to see you as the person trying to pitch me. They're going to say the guy that left this super unique comment on my profile. And everyone likes unique comments. That's why I'm doing this right now. Next, could you also mention the minimum software-wise and go high level? What else requirements to start? So all it's going to be is go high level, right? You need Facebook, go high level. The only other thing that you might want to add could be like a Calendly, but that you can use for free initially. But yeah, that is really it. Go high level and Facebook ads are the only software you need to start. Everything else, like cold email and that stuff, you don't need to do. You can just do social platform messaging and a bunch of that stuff. Next, so hey, I want to learn about my service and niche before I actually start outreach. Is this bad? Because I don't want fail client, execute, never study for it. My point is, should I take time off outreach to learn my service and some sales, then go ahead and begin outreach? So this is a tricky one, right? Because knowing about your niche is very important, but if you've actually selected your niche properly, right, using like niche resonation, making sure that you understand the niche already, this isn't really something that's going to come up, because when you pick a niche, and as an example, I would be soccer schools. I understand soccer schools super well. So going into it, I would know exactly what's going on, and I know roughly what the service delivery would look like. I know what type of offer I'd run to, training camps and clinics. So if you have picked your niche correctly, you should already understand a lot of this stuff. If you don't understand the overhead sales process, like what the niche even does, yes, take time to understand that, but it should not be time off your outreach. It should be time, when you're laying in bed at night, and like just go overtime to learn about it. But you should never, be off outreach. While you're still starting, you're still trying to get your first appointment, getting your first client. Outreach is your biggest domino. It's what's going to, yield you exponential returns in comparison to every other task. Next, so how do you balance school study and the agency work? This one is really important for me because I need to study a lot. So, I'm in a very unique situation where I don't do like fully engaged school. I do online school, which is, very, convenient for me, but I have work to get here. In the case of balancing school and study, I would say, again, do what you can where you can. That guy in law school has managed to scale his agency. And, if you like really break down your day, it might not be fun at first, but you'll get used to it. You can creatively find a lot of time to actually go ahead and, put that work in, right? You might have to study a little bit when you're at home for, tests and exams, but that means in class, the teachers are really not saying much. So you might want to go on to your phone and Instagram outreach during class. So what I would say is creatively look at your schedule and just do what you can when you can. And then as time opens up and you get, more freedom, that is when you're going to go all in on your agency. Cool. So please, can you say some niche that is not oversaturated? Well, every niche sucks is the honest truth of this. Every niche has, their inherent drawbacks. They're going to make it kind of annoying to work in. But the point is that there are, a few saturated niches, things like, med spas, all these places, but it's really not the niche itself. It's more so the offer that niche is receiving. So, the simple, hey, I'll get you 15 appointments in 30 days type of offer. In, the case of actually trying to pick a niche, because I assume that's what this person is going after right here, you're going to want to, again, find a niche that you resonate with, find a niche that you understand, because that's going to be more important than any, offer or saturation that might exist. If I grew up with a realtor mom and a realtor dad, and I, started working their brokerage when I was 6 years old, calling up leads, I don't care how many realtor agencies there are, because that's going to be my niche. I understand it so well. I understand it in and out. You have a competitive advantage. So find a niche that you have an existing competitive advantage in just because of your knowledge. Cool. Hyper Bob, so when is it best to send DMs, how to spread them out throughout the day so you can send maximum capacity before they restrict your DMs, if that's even possible. So when you're starting, and I'm going to answer this question in context to Instagram, the best thing to do is send 10 messages out per hour. Instagram has a message cap, but as you keep hitting that cap over and over again, as you can see, it slightly goes up and up and up each and every time. So yes, you'll be able to send more DMs throughout the day. To begin on Instagram, I would do 10 messages per hour, and I'd spread it out, maybe do that 3-4 hours split, and then gradually over time the amount of messages your account can increase. In the case of wanting to send out a lot of messages from the jump, make multiple profiles. Eventually your accounts will hit a capacity where you don't have to do this, but in the meantime it's going to help you still put in that work. And then just the last thing, as you're messaging people, make sure you interact with their page, make sure you message them from a story reply and not just the DM button. Instagram counts that as a lukewarm message and not just a cold DM, so you'll actually be able to send out a little bit more if you do that as well. Cool. So Vico Bracamont, hello, what would you say is the best way to do outreach when you are in school? So I don't know your exact situation, but the best thing I would do is just whip out your phone and on whatever social platform, so Facebook, Instagram, just send out messages there. And you don't even have to send out new messages. You can just reply to existing messages. But yeah, it's the same as if you were to text your friend during school, right? The exact same thing, and that's how I go about doing it. Kendrick, guys, how do you get their phone number and call them when they reply? So this one is, a question that comes up a lot more than I actually thought it would. And the answer to this is just look on their profiles. So every business, if they have a established online presence, they're going to have at least multiple social platforms. They're going to have a website, they're going to have an email. So you can go to their website. If their phone number isn't on their website, something's wrong with the business because they need people to call in, receptionists, all these things. So what I would do is look at their Facebook, look at their website, and just scan to try and find their phone number. Because you won't find it on Instagram a lot of the time. They have to have like a super advanced business setup done, but you can find it on Facebook and their website super easily, and that's going to be connected to their Instagram a lot of the time. Cool, that guy, I think. So where should I get a contract from a media buyer? There's another situation where I give you the solution and not actually the answer. So I can imagine in this case we're not, actually we don't have a few clients yet. We're just trying to start out. I wouldn't recommend going with the media buyer, just because as a business owner, right, you're going to want to know what's actually going on in your agency, and developing the skills yourself is going to save you a very big hassle, right? It's going to save you money. And, as you progress, you're going to be able to, just have way more skills and be way better at what you do. Because if you don't understand media buying, well, A, your media buy can rip you off. B, you don't know how to communicate with your clients. And, C, you're just overall not even really a business owner, you're just a salesperson. So that is something I would really avoid beginning. I'd recommend, you start Facebook ads yourself. I know it's a daunting wall, right? I had the exact same issue. It even scared me out of doing Facebook ads for a very long time. But as soon as you start it and you knock down this wall, you realize that there's just a little baby dragon and not some humongous thing behind it. So hopefully that helps. Slimy Ghost, I've been outreaching through cold email, but the issue I'm facing is with outreach is businesses don't open their emails. I've placed a mail track to keep track of my outreach mails. None is being read. Is there a more effective way, or am I missing out something important? Please let me know your thoughts. So recently, I actually just made a video on this. When you're first starting, you don't need to do cold email because you're not trying to book, and fill up your calendar, make it look like, you got meetings, events everywhere going on. You're flying place to place. All you need is one meeting, right? And you need one meeting to get one client. Or you might need 3 meetings, you might need 5 meetings. But the point is that you're going after single meetings just because you don't have the leverage to go ahead and get, tens and tens of meetings. And the only reason you can't do that is just because you don't have case studies, you don't have a proof of concept. So when you're first starting, I would say the most effective way outside of, your initial network walk-ins is going to be what's called omni-channel messaging. And that's where instead of just hitting someone up on one platform, you go every platform possible. So you connect with them on LinkedIn, you message them on Instagram, you message them on Facebook, you give them a call at 2 p.m., you hit them from as many angles as possible to virtually guarantee a reply. And then once you've gotten the reply, then you can, either get a yes or no from every single prospect. But doing that's going to allow you to have a lot more quality control. And even though it takes more time, we're only going after singular meetings when we're first starting. So that's going to be completely fine. And that is how I would go about my first meeting at my first client. Cool. Aaron Jacob, what are some of the negatives of SMMA? So I actually replied to this saying that negativity is all about perception, which is true. But if you want to say some of the less entertaining parts of SMMA. It could be, you know, having issues, customer support issues, I'd say would be the worst thing, and not customers and your clients, but I mean, you know, having your Facebook ad account taken down or things that are out of your control. Because personally, I don't find any of the actual work aspects, so, you know, scraping leads, tweaking ads, you know, jumping on sales calls. I find that, I guess, the fun part. The annoying part is when things out of your control happen and you have to rely on others to get things done. That is not your team, right? So you have to rely on someone's customer support. You have to rely on all these things. That would be the only real negative that I come up with for SMMA. And obviously, there's like a slew of other things that you couldn't say are difficult, but I wouldn't say that's negative. I'd say that's going to happen in every business, no matter what you choose. Huz. So I'm not understanding how to use a pitch deck. How are they going to know we will help them? So if you're beginning and you don't have case studies, it's going to be about authenticity, because in all honesty, you don't know if you're going to help them, right? You are trying ads, and that's why it's so important to convey yourself truthfully, because if you got on the call and you've pretended to be a head honcho up until now, they're going to treat you like one. They're going to ask, hey, well, you know, where are your results? Hey, have you, you know, done this for someone before? And if you don't have that, it's going to land you in a sticky situation on a lot of sales calls. When you're first starting, and the approach that we use in the First Client Challenge was just being authentic, right? Telling your story. So I would say, hey, you know, I'm a 16-year-old trying to start my agency. I actually, you know, don't know if we can help you, but recently I've stumbled upon a bunch of these guys, and you know, they know exactly what they're doing with the ads, and they had taken me under my wing to help me scale up my agency. So, you know, just because of that, we can start with a super small budget, and, you know, as we, you know, grow in time, you start to see results, we can increase that and maybe, you know, negotiate something else. And that's how I'd go about doing it. Just tell your story. Be honest. It's such a, you know, overrated, I guess, sorry, underrated thing to do, of just being honest, being truthful. Because when you're truthful, people can't bash you, right? Sure, they can say no, but it's truth. And eventually the truth's going to come to light anyways, so lying isn't going to actually shortcut you. In terms of actually the pitch deck, right? I mean, you can use one. Personally, I never used one on my first sales calls. The best way, if you're going to actually design one, would just be to put photos of yourself that can, I guess, add a visual connection as you're telling your story. So if I were talking about how I played sports growing up, I'd have images of that. But that is really the only thing I use a pitch deck for. I wouldn't have, you know, any long, boring presentation, because that puts people to sleep, and I don't mean that as a joke. So, Gautam Sharma. So, is SMA saturated? Can I start now? Yes, you can, and you should start right now. Misho. It's actually for Dylan, but got it on here. So, my country has around 3K gyms, if not less, which is really bad, so I actually can't keep cold calling. What's your next best way? I tried contacting other gyms on my country on IG, but 0 responses. So I have only 200 gyms I can contact on Google Maps. Where can I find from others? So I will answer the first aspect of this question, because the second one is a huge rabbit hole of, there's a lot of reasons why you can't be getting responses on IG. Most of them are going to rely on, you know, pre-message interaction, the leads you're actually contacting, what your profile looks like, and then just your like hook message. So what you're initially messaging them. But if you have 3K gyms that you can reach out to and you use the omni-channel messaging, you will 100% not only just be, you know, making money, right? You will be making a good amount of money. If you hit every single gym up from multiple platforms, call them up, do like just hunt them down as much as you can until you get either a yes or a no. That will get you exactly where you need to be, and by that time you can jump to a different market, because there's lots of gyms worldwide. Cool. Malik McGee. So I just got a meeting booked with a potential client in a few weeks via Zoom, and I have a couple questions for you. Including me, that'd be great. How can I start with no money? Can I start arbitrage model? If so, how? Okay, so we're gonna remove the 3-4 option because I already covered this. We're not gonna use a service arbitrage model or a freelance contractor. So what info should we include in the first meeting? Like I said, we're gonna be authentic. We're gonna tell our story. And how can I start off with no money? So if you really want to start off with no money, you can run the Facebook ads yourself and then call up the leads. You can also try the, you know, free trial of Go High Level, but ultimately Go High Level is going to be very, very important for setting up automations to nurture leads, capture leads, and then transfer them over to your client smoothly. And that is how I'd go about doing that. Rosetta Expert, someone in here in NEPQ. So NEPQ is a sales framework that goes around asking questions in order to make the prospect come to their own conclusion. I wouldn't recommend this as you're first starting, because until you have a higher place in the hierarchy, if that makes sense, and your frame with the prospect is as, you know, an expert, someone who's got results, it's not going to be very effective, because if I were to, and I say this in perspective of even now, if I, because I'm not doing anything in comparison to someone doing 8 figures a month, if I'm going to call with someone 8 figures a month and I ask them, how does that make you feel? Or, what's the consequence of this not happening? They're going to laugh at me, right? Because they're that much higher up in the hierarchy than me. So you want to keep that in mind as using NEPQ. I'd only use it when you're on equal or very similar footing with somebody. But yeah, when you're first starting, you're probably not going to have that. So yeah, I'd recommend just telling your story. Abdeal or a deal. So I have a meeting with client tomorrow. Can you give me some tips on what should do, what should not do? So I already said what to do, which is answer questions, build authenticity. What you should not do. So what you should not do is lie, right? And I say this as someone who, lied and got burnt because of it. Lying on the sales call is just not going to help you, because as you continue to string on this thing that's not necessarily true, you build up a fake perception, and it's all going to come falling down. If not on the sales call, if on the onboarding call, they're going to have questions and you're just not going to be able to answer them. So the biggest thing you can do is not lie. And if you tell the truth, you tell your situation, and you're honest about absolutely everything, you're either going to get a yes or a no. But the point is that it's going to be a real yes or no, and you're going to be able to progress based on that. Hey Alex, feel like I'm scared of outreach feel like I'm scared of outreach because I'm scared of getting the first client. How do I manage this fear? So how do you make a diamond? I know no one else is here right now. It's 9 a.m. in the morning, but the best way to create a diamond is with pressure, right? And I know it may seem scary, because it seems scary to me. It seems scary to a lot of other people I met, but you still have to move forward, right? And you can't let the fear stop you. You have to embrace the fear. And that's all I can say, because I felt, I was absolutely scared. I was, doing nervous jitters. Everything was going on. But I just told myself, hey, it's only going to be 10 minutes of my life to get on this call, or it's only going to be 30 minutes of my life to do this. It's only going to be this much of my time to do this. I just have to go after it. And if this is, really what you decided based on your situation in life, once you've decided to go after it and you are sure that you want to go after it, the fear is going to happen, but you can just keep moving forward through the fear. And I know it's very, very much easier said than done, but you just have to muster up, do what you need to do to keep moving, and just do not quit, my man. SSTIDs. So what is the best way to get 1K followers? I'll give the solution here. So chances are you're really not going to need 1K followers to do outreach. I was managing to book appointments with 33 followers. And then I was at my booking prime when I had around 300, 400 followers. So you don't need a lot of followers to book appointments. And, until you're really trying to build up your social credibility, it's not going to matter. And if it does, actually matter, and you're trying to build up that credibility and you need it right now, post content. That's how you grow followers. You should just make good content, entertain people, provide value. Same way I'm trying to do right now. A deal again. So just wanted to ask, does clients trust people with Pakistani and Indian accent? So actually, I have a very unique story about this. So in the first client challenge, we had a lot of people come through from Pakistan, India, and at first, right, they were, trying to cold call people, call leads when they book in, but everyone was just immediately no, immediately no. And as people without those accents were seeing success, these people with Indian and Pakistan accents, they just weren't seeing any results. And Dylan and I, we had a meeting one day. It's like, how do we help these people? Right? Because we know the method works for this group of people, but we can't just ignore this group of people. And the actual answer that we came up with is the video message, because unfortunately there is a little bit of a stigma in North America, because people get a lot of scammer calls, right? They get a lot of people from India and Pakistan trying to sell them something, which, or not sell them something, scam them out of their own money and do all these things to them. And a lot of times the actual prejudice, I guess, and the wall that they have built up is somewhat warranted based on what they deal with. The best way to break this down is to show your face, right? So what we started doing with these people is we'd have them record a video message. They grab their phone just like this and talk to the phone, showing their face, telling their story the same as anyone else. Because what that does is it breaks down the, I guess, scammer, this whole shadow complex that you might have beforehand, and it turns it into just another human being, because a scammer wouldn't show their face. A scammer wouldn't be vulnerable and tell their story. And by doing that, you're going to allow the prospect to actually connect with you. And that was the very great way that we allowed it, everyone to overcome this kind of objection. And, It's not worse than calling up the lead. It's just an alternative. And if you have an accent that you think the prospects, might prejudice you based on, then I would definitely do the exact same thing. Mr. Producer, I got 14 businesses that are interested. Keep ignoring me that I want to schedule a meeting with them. So there's a difference, and the worst compliment a salesperson can ever receive is that they're a good salesperson, right? Because it means that everything they've done, everything they've built up has just been broken down, and the person sees through it. And in your case, that sounds like what a lot of this is, right? To be interested means that, they like the idea of it, but they don't believe in you, right? They don't have a vehicle belief, so they believe that the actual system works. They don't have an external belief, that they believe that they can fulfill on the system and they can be a benefit from it, but they just don't believe in you right now, right? And that could be because of authenticity, right? So if you've got these people interested by saying the system can generate X result, Y result, which I can assume most likely happened in this situation, you want to take a big switch. And with these existing prospects, you want to tell them your story, tell them who you are, tell them about your life. And then for the other prospects, right, so the ones that, let me just quickly X off this. Apologies. For the prospects, that you're messaging in the future, you're going to want to hit them with the full transparency approach. Tell your story and be unique. Cool. Henry, Dylan in the cowboy hat and chef hat, strategic. No one's doing it like this, and that's all I got to say about it. Snow Piga. So what if I'm not very good at speaking? I have a slight stutter and I want to avoid cold calls. I'll blitz through these last few questions here. Dive into it, man. Only way to get over it. You're going to be speaking with people anyways. Speaking is a very integral part of human existence, human communication. You're going to learn how to have to do it, overcome it. The best way to do that is to cold call. You want to practice. You want to overcome it. That's what I got to say. Otto, does someone have a good example of a realtor demo presentation? It's all the same. Tell your story, who you are. Few. Dylan Wilson also wearing hat. No one's doing it. I don't want to say this name. So, hey guys, help me. I'm doubting in my first client. Like I don't want to do something, and I just wanted to ask someone to motivate me to make this possible. Okay, so the first client challenge, 81 people joined. There were fat, tall, big, small, from everywhere across the world, young, old, like everything. Shy people, bold people, whatever it might be. They all got their first client if they did outreach. If they picked their niche, they took action, they did outreach. They all got their first client. So if you are, a human being with, 2 fingers or 10 fingers, and you've got your brain intact, you got a device, you can get your first client as well. Layden, so how you manage to send story replies, blogging messages. So as I said, the Instagram will slightly go up over and over and over time. But in the meantime, you just want to always be outreaching, right? Instead of trying to say, I'm going to send X amount of messages per day, allocate a certain amount of your time a day to just sending messages. And if you get timed out, you're going to switch your platform. You're just going to keep outreaching and building the habit of reaching out to new prospects. Huz, do you guys build a prospecting list first or just do it traditionally? This is preference. I always like to build my prospecting list first and then just blast through all the DMs at one time, or like spread them out 10 every hour or so. But yeah, I would build the prospect list first unless you're on your phone or something. It doesn't really matter. It's a preference thing. And that being said, those are all the questions. I hope you enjoyed. I hope the attention I stole from you today was worth the amount of time that you gave me in return. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next video.